time I close my eyes, I see the night again. In all the dreams I have, I hear the sound of angels cry. Take me back, I need to find those distant memories. Hold on close, slowly, not far through it all. In all my life, I've been searching for a better world, but time has let me down. Here we stand on this broken land, raise my head up high, I can see the sun. We are the children, with fire in the sky, and we are the future. Our souls in the night will never die. Feel the change, it seems it's like the same old day to me. Nothing here I have to live before they capture me. In all my life I've been searching for a better world, but time has let me down. Here we stand on this broken land, raise my head up high, I can see the sun. We are the children, with fire in the sky. We are the future. Our souls in the night will never die.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Dixie Dave, are you there?
I am here.
We
Crossen.
hear you. We hear you loud and
Hear you.
clear. Yeah, last show was a little bit of a hiccup, but
Well,
it's
last show, I'm going to apologize to our fans. I was in the process of relocating, and I couldn't find my Chromebook, and I had to use my cell phone, and I couldn't hear anything. And I didn't want to step on the Crusher's toes during a conversation, so
and I figured as much. I could see what was happening. There was sometimes we have technical difficulties, and when you go live, you got to just roll with the punches, and
yep.
that's the way it works. Dave and I kind of made a commitment. We wanted to keep the show live because we want to interact with everybody. So
Yep. We love our interaction with the crowd, and we want to be here. Oh, and we want to be here for you guys.
Yeah, don't glitch out on us now, Dave. Not right away.
Hey,
but listen, I'm really excited because, as you can see, my NWF wall of belts is complete, Dave. They're all there now. At least the major titles. The two
as you see,
originals and the lightweight tag are there now.
As you see, Crusher, I've got my NWF belt right over my shoulder here.
Yep, you got them there as well. I see them, and but no, I was real happy with those. I was waiting for the original TWA belts and TWF belts from the early days of the show, so those were kind of cool to get done, and of course the NWF lightweight tag belts. So today we are going to be watching a very fun show. It's going back to the Yoho Municipal Arena, as Jason Klassen aptly called it. Recorded on July 9th, 1986, show 76. You know, I don't know, a few months ago we watched show 75, so this is going to be
Yeah.
the next taping, same day. So this will
And
be kind of a fun show.
Sadly, the fans won't get to see Dixie Dave because at this point during this taping, I believe I was in Florida
Yep, that's right.
visiting family.
That is correct. Yep, you were not present there, but you would return.
I would be on pension.
Yeah, and this is one of those shows too. So this show, normally our shows go an hour, the actual shows. This one's going to go a little short only because all the interview segments and commercials are omitted from this particular one. Sometimes when I got the tapes from Group W, that happened, and I can't explain why when I dubbed them. But anyways, so this one, they'll say, we'll be back right after this interview, and then it just cuts to the next match. So it's basically going to be kind of non-stop action on this show. You know,
Hey, sometimes that's good. And before we really get rolling, I'd like to say hi to our commenters in the comments there.
Yep, our regular viewers. We're happy to see everybody here, and you know, it's fun. I love, you know, looking back on these shows. I know you do too, Dave. It's just fun to take a look back.
Oh yeah.
And of course, we go every other week now. Now, Dave, I think next show, I gotta reach out to him, but I'm wanting to see if we can get. Remember how I said we wanted to revisit those Armory shows?
Yeah.
That we never did get to watch. I want to get that July 26th Armory card. I want to get that one in the bucket here. And Steve Engstrom, aka Mr. X, Pretty Boy Taylor, was going to join us for that one. So I'm going to see if I can get him to still join us on that one. So maybe we do that for the next show. That's at least my tentative thinking. We'll see if that works out. But yeah, that's our show today. And of course, as you know, feel free to comment and say whatever you want to say as we get going with the show. Your comments are always welcome, and we will.
Any comments, any questions, shoot them out.
Yep, comments, questions. We always enjoy the interaction, and of course, in the meantime, I'll try to come up with different things I can tell you about as we watch the show. As my, you know, a lot of it for Dave, when I watch these shows, the memories come back to me, so I can then remember.
Right.
You know what to say. It's hard when I don't have the show running, but when we see it, I'll remember things. So
and
I would say without any. What's that?
And memories of the people that were there at that point. You know,
yep,
I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're going to see Thandar the Barbarian, I'm sure. We're going to see Kelsey, I'm sure.
Yeah, Kelsey's there, but a lot of them weren't wrestling. So not everybody wrestles on these shows, but I know Kelsey was there that day. Yeah, some of the people we'll see the Barbarians, right? Like you mentioned, Slick Steenerson, Bulldog the Butcher.
Okay.
The Super D's are here.
We'll see the.
Yep, and they actually do a very interesting match, a handicap match against Invader 1, which I think was requested on Terry. He wanted that match. So, and then we're going to see I know I go against the Ice Dragon. It's our only program we did, me and him, was, well, besides at Fred Moore when he filled in. But this was like, you know, we were starting to kind of get into a little bit of an angle. And it was a good, you know, I liked working with Chris Downs.
Right.
I liked his character. It was great chemistry. No complaints with Chris.
You know, that's the thing when you're wrestling somebody, the better the chemistry is, the better the match is going to be.
Yep. Yeah, I know. And sometimes, you know, even though Chris was a hot fuse back then, hard to handle, you know, personality-wise, he was a little bit in your face. I love the character. I love this character, the Ice Dragon. Great character for the show. So without further ado, let's get this thing rocking and rolling, I guess.
Alrighty, let's roll them.
All right, so we'll cue up the show here and get things started.
I do remember my first victory ever came at Yoho Municipal.
Yeah, that was one of your very first shows, actually. I mean, you were at Fred Moore first, but
yep.
Shortly after you joined, yep, it was Mr. Destroyer. who oddly enough became your tag team partner in a mask, though.
Yep. Seeing that the original Rattlesnake Jake had to step down for personal reasons. Well, only if we could have gotten that far reach.
What's that? Oh, with all these countries.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we're basically saying pro wrestlers from those areas now.
Okay.
Not necessarily any of us are from those areas, but that's basically taking that from the AWA's intro. You know, the AWA always had that kind of intro, and we did the same. You know.
Hey,
we were heavily influenced by the AWA.
And you know, people got to give us tons of credit. I mean, we were a bunch of teenagers, and we spread our little show that we taped basically in Anoka County. We spread that show nationwide.
Yeah, we did. I mean, at a time when that was really not easy to do.
Exactly.
No internet, no means of communication in that way at all.
Get out so we can get down to action.
So yeah, this match kind of gets started kind of in progress almost a little bit. I think they were short to hit the record button on the camera. But what we have is the Invaders against the Mr. Nice Guys, Mr. Macho and Mr. Destroyer. They were in a big feud right now this time, leading up to that Anoka Armory card that I was just talking about that I want to watch next time. This was the build-up to all that. Yeah.
And thank goodness the Mr. Nice Guys did not win the national tag team titles from the Invaders.
Yeah. Nah, it was never. I mean, that wasn't my intention as the booker at the time to give the Nice Guys the belts. You know, they're a fairly new team, so the Invaders have been there for, and they just got the belts at the Armory card, so we wanted to let them have a run with it. Chad Randall, Terry Block's partner, was a very big, kind of tough kid himself.
Oh yeah.
Football player, I know. Yeah, he was, but a very nice guy though. Very nice. I mean, you knew him, right? Wasn't he in the neighborhood with you guys?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Terry just lived like a block over from me.
Right.
As I remember, he lived over on Hollywood Boulevard, there in Coon Rapids. And I was over there on Mississippi.
Terry Block was not a mean bone in his body. I mean, very nice kid. And
I mean, even
Terry Block. I was gonna say, Terry, watch him in this match. He's got this really technical super kick that he does several times. And we'll see it here, I'm sure. Very good. I mean, the super kick is just like, looks like it connects. In fact, here comes one. That's just a drop kick. But no, he does this like really nice super kick. You'll see it when it happens. It's really good.
And as far as like you saying that there wasn't a mean bone in Terry's body, I mean, even after the botch that he and I had,
yeah,
never a sour word to me in my memory.
No, you know, Terry was meek and mild off camera. He didn't complain much. He really didn't complain about the finish. You know, some of the kids never, like we talked about it last week, some of the kids, you know, they forget it's professional wrestling and it's a work and they always want to win.
Right.
Like, why am I losing? How come I got to lose? How come he can't lose? Terry was one to never even question it. He just did what he was told. You know.
Exactly.
It's my memories of Terry, really.
Well, and it's like
elbow smash. Oh, wait a minute.
It's like when I was in the league, you know.
Now the Invaders.
I never questioned a finish. I just okay.
There's all sorts of stuff going on. Pandemonium is broken loose. The referee no longer able to control things.
Yeah, I mean,
the only time I ever interjected in anything really was.
And there's no control here.
I remember right before the Anoka Armory, we had a vacancy in the national tag title match, and I said, you know, worst case scenario, I don't have a match yet. Throw me in there.
There's no ref.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the finish was going to be or anything. I just volunteered.
So yeah, the Invaders get the win there against the Nice Guys.
Pardon that. Ice Dragon and the Fly. Here they come.
Now we got the Ice Dragon and the Fly as a tag team
Probably
coming
a little
out.
hot in the Fly's robe. I wouldn't want to be in that thing.
This is where the Ice Dragon had that robe, and
They will be
they had
facing-
the robes, and certainly not the Ric Flair robes, but robes nonetheless.
They will be facing the Rack and Roll.
The Rack and Roll
They will be
Express.
facing the Rack and Roll Express.
You know,
Larry Nelson.
yeah, I was imitating Larry Nelson there. Remember Larry Nelson, the AWA announcer? He'd always he would announce like that. The
They got that trophy.
Midnight Rockers. You know, and he
Kid Kelsey.
did stuff. So I did the same thing. Yeah.
This year is,
Mimicking
Kid Kelsey
Larry
along with
Nelson.
Rough Ryan. Barbarian is here.
Yeah, Mike Bauer, Chris Barger, a little bit older.
This match is
They're about 18 here.
Yep.
the Rack
But
Express
certainly the
versus
oldest
the Ice Dragon and the
Kids,
Fly.
I guess, if you want to call them
Yeah.
kids, that joined our show.
The Rackno Express, the winners of the
But
first
you know, Mike
annual
and Chris,
NWF
being
Taping
older, brought a lot of
Spectacular Cup.
professionalism too. They were very mature.
They lock up.
They were very mature, and they were mature about whatever was going on.
Clean break
Yeah,
by
they wanted it to look
Mike of the Rackno
good, so
Express.
they eventually joined the producers council that we had,
Goes for the
and
body slam.
Yep.
Oh,
the actual working producers council that I used. It's kind of a board of directors kind of, and they were very influential in that council.
body slam.
And I mean,
One count.
I forget which one it was that we had at the Brooklyn Park Armory.
Position like he was.
That was Chris Barger at the Brooklyn Park.
Okay.
Stragan.
I mean, he never had any questions.
Telegraphed this move.
You know, even though I was shorter than he
With
was,
not enough senses to move.
there was never any question of, okay, why is Dixie Dave coming out to challenge us? Why not have it be Rattlesnake
Bad
Jake?
condition here.
Yeah.
Is it choking him? The ref trying to break him. You have a
So-
5 count to break.
Super D, I think that's Troy
He's gonna go
Dazowski
up, a
reffing
double
there.
team effort, the ref should not
I
have
could
been.
never tell them apart.
Of
course, I could be wrong, but it looks like Troy.
7 p.m. On the card, Crusher Crossen versus Mr. X.
I can only tell because their hair was a little. They had the hair was a little different. That's the only way I can tell them apart.
Yep.
There's Mr. Destroyer up on the roof with the camera. Caught on camera a little bit there. But yeah,
Comes over the top rope.
this is again our very first usage of the new wrestling ring, Dave, that we got.
Yep.
Looking around, both men are.
Okay,
And
I
the
see,
official wrestling ring.
He locks.
Yep.
He's about ready to
I
lock
see
up
we got
with him.
Gizmo in tonight.
No lock up. Oh, kick to the stomach.
Oh yeah, Gizmo. Guys, everyone seems older in this episode. Crusher, how old were you when this was filmed? So this was 86, July.
Yep.
I would have been 16. I would have been 16 years old here. When we started the show in 1984, I was 14. I just turned 14.
He pushes the ref, and he
Um,
misses him. He
But yeah, I was
missed her.
16
He
here. And
Rock and Roll Express. Rock and Roll
yeah,
Express.
but well, we still have the Super Ds though. They're still. I mean,
Oh, he's choking
Troy
him.
Dazowski's 1986. He would have
These men should
been.
be disqualified.
He's born in 76, so he'd be 10 years old here.
These men should be
Yep.
disqualified.
The Super Ds.
It's from the
Um,
stomach.
But yeah,
Under a clothesline.
it's funny when we did this Yoho taping. I don't know if you can see them in the grass or if they're even there yet, but the neighbor there watched little kids, you know, like preschoolers. She
Yep.
had did like a daycare, and they were all. They put a little blanket on the grass there, and all the kids wanted to watch the matches. So there was like a little blanket in the yard, and they were just watching for a long time. Now it looks like they're. This is later in the day now. This particular show.
Headlock reversal.
So they're not there now, but
Atomic drop.
One move that rarely gets used nowadays.
the atomic drop. You don't see it much no more.
Not really.
Yeah, that was definitely a 1980s move. 70s, 80s style wrestling. Easy one to do, really.
Yep.
Clothesline there by shot in the car, I can't see.
You know, some of the kids are still kind of getting used to this ring. Again, this is the first time we're in it, so you're still kind of feeling it out.
Bring him over into the turnbuckle.
But boy, I tell you something, it was great having this real professional wrestling ring finally.
The Express back pot, double back body drop. He picks him up again.
You know, the communication isn't always clean with all of us here. Like, I'm sure maybe Mike didn't communicate quite well to Chris what he wanted to do on that back body drop.
Double teaming, they're double teaming Mike of the Rack and Roll Express.
You know, Ice Dragon was one of our best heels right around this time. He really came into his heel role here at this point in time.
Yeah.
Mike.
And his brother, The Fly, he just was fit that mold perfectly, you know, with his brother here.
Exactly.
You know, they didn't want to be, Chris did not want to be partners with Jay. It was me that made them be a tag team. That was my call. I remember that. Chris wanted to be with Chad Brancourt, Dr. Destruction. That's the tag team he wanted. And eventually I let it happen, but at first I wanted, it was him and The Fly. I wanted them to be a tag team, his brother.
It was originally going to, that October card, if I remember correctly, it was originally going to be Ice Dragon and
Dr. Destruction.
Oh, it was going to be Ice Dragon and okay.
Yeah, originally it was going to be the Ice Dragon and Dr. Destruction against the Invaders, originally.
Excuse me, 30 seconds.
And then when the Ice Dragon got suspended, we suspended him. That was one of those disciplinary suspensions that I would do just when people got out of line, for real.
Yeah.
Chris I don't know what he did, but he did something. I can't remember, it's been too long. And both him and Chad got suspended, but Chad's suspension wasn't as long. And so Chad was able to make the show, but obviously couldn't wrestle. So that's when we decided, okay, Dixie Dave, Rattlesnake Jake, you're gonna get the spot.
Yep. And that was only like 3 weeks ahead of the show.
Yeah.
So I remember we had the meeting in Coon Rapids about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. You know, The Fly is actually pretty flexible in the ring. You'd be surprised. He may not look it, but he could move around in the ring pretty good.
Right on to our next match. Entering the ring first, Slick Steenerson and Bulldog the Butcher. Here they come.
The Dream Team is what we called them, I do believe.
They're in here. Slick Steenerson and Bulldog the Butcher. The Dream Cream Team. I guess we call them the Dream Team, ladies and gentlemen.
So I got a comment here from Gizmo. I see people are wearing sneakers more in this video. When did you guys switch over to the wrestling boots? Well, the way we got the wrestling boots was when I finally did meet Eddie Sharkey, which was right around this time. And Eddie was the one who said, "This is where you get wrestling boots," because we didn't know where to get them. There was not like advertisements anywhere in the magazine or anything saying, "Hey, order your wrestling boots here." All the promoters knew where to get them, and guys like Eddie Sharkey, but it was like one of those, you had to be in the know. Yeah. So when Eddie gave us the contact information where to get boots, then that's when I ordered my boots, which I ordered in December this year of '86. And then other guys followed. Yourself.
Yep.
Eventually, Jamie McParlin got boots. And yeah, so guys started getting the boots. And some guys went and got actual wrestling boots that you'd get at like the sporting store for amateur wrestling. But yeah, the reason we're wearing sneakers and stuff is because with this new ring is because, yeah, you just didn't want to do socks. You know, this is, I don't know, something about this ring. You wanted to have some kind of footing.
Well, we were in a professional ring and we wanted to look more professional.
Right, and just I think the landing and stuff, it was much more better for your ankles and stuff to have some kind of footing on.
He's done a good job. He's
Yeah.
done his job well. He's kept them apart. Now,
It's
let's
funny
see.
watching the referee,
Now we're gonna have the official
Troy Dazowski
beginning
here.
of the match
You know,
right
so
now.
small compared to the guys.
And the power of Conan Evans. He just
Yep, I was
throws
just going to
Steenerson
say, I
all
think
like
that's
a wet
Conan.
rag. Oh, and a big elbow from Steenerson, though. He's nobody. Oh, and a DDT.
You know, Chad Randall, so he stayed with the show for all through '86, but then in early '87,
He's right behind Conan. He better watch himself.
he ended up,
Okay.
he got a bum knee from
Okay.
football. He hurt his knee,
And a big
and he
arm.
just couldn't do it
Elbow
anymore
shot
in
to
the
elbow smash to
ring.
the
So
arm,
he
excuse me.
he
And a kick from
had to
Butcher
get out
onto
of it.
Conan.
It screwed up. You know, his
And
knee was
another knee
hurting
lift.
him too much, and it just was
Now
he
setting
couldn't
him
do
up.
it anymore
He's
like he
gonna
was.
Throw
Yeah.
Conan into the ropes.
You know, so for
As I
sure.
remember,
for
that's
those
the
reasons.
reason why we went with the finish that we went with
Butcher wisely got out of that one.
the Anoka Armory on the 18th.
Yeah. No, he legitimately had a bad knee, and it's
Okay,
just,
Steenerson setting up.
and it really took its.
Now,
It kind of came to a
Conan is
peak
gonna
though in
take
'87
off
when
to,
he was trying to still keep doing it, but it was just hurting him too much, and he didn't want to further, you know, wanted to let it
And a
heal up
big knee
more,
left
so he
from
just took a
champion
Yeah.
Conan.
a
Steenerson
break,
throws him into
and
the corner. Oh, and another knee smash. And now the
so
referee
Thandar the
warning,
Barbarian,
warning Butcher. Meanwhile, Thundar working
you know,
over
with the
Steenerson
rough
rather
side of the
well.
Barbarians.
Setting him up.
You know, I
Steenerson hooks the
of
ropes,
the
and
two,
referee's not watching. He's still
Tim
trying
and
to take
Jerry,
Butcher.
Jerry was real
Butcher's hurting his own
easy to
partner
work
worse
with,
than
not
he's
stiff
helping.
at all. Where Tim was a little stiff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and a leg smash by Thundar on Steenerson.
But he never. He was
And,
just stiff. He wasn't gonna
He
hurt you.
wasn't
He wasn't
molested.
hurting you.
Fist from
Yeah.
Thundar off the top rope.
Yeah.
Now he's gonna go for a pin.
Unless you
Butcher
wouldn't
from the
sell
back
for him.
with a double sledge to the back, the upper half of the middle of the
Yep.
back. And that probably saved him.
If
from
you
a
wouldn't sell
three-count.
for him, he'd make you
Now
sell.
Thundar setting up
Yeah.
Slick Steenerson as Butcher climbs up on the second rope again. And another body slam on Steenerson. That takes muscles. because
Yeah.
as you can see-
And
as you can
the
tell,
funny thing
Steenerson is no lightweight. That takes
that a lot of
awful
fans
strength
might not
to be able to body
realize,
slam Slick Steenerson like that.
you know, going behind the curtain a little
He
bit,
smashed in the middle, talking to Bulldog Butcher.
Conan,
Steenerson
Thandar,
smashed, it
and
was like an
Bulldog
avalanche.
were all
And wait a
cousins.
minute,
Yep. All
wait a minute,
related.
what's going on? The referee down. And now it's Steenerson on the outside.
So
of the ring.
Bulldog the
Thundar and
Butcher,
Conan standing there rather
you know, when
triumphantly.
I had talked to, I still am in touch
Now
with
helping out
Jerry
the referee.
and Tim.
Referee's still
I mean,
kinda
we
dizzy. He
both
doesn't know
are.
where he is.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
not so much with
Isn't that true
Jerry,
of all
but
referees? But that's just kidding.
I am with Jerry though. I've chatted
Yeah.
with him a number of times,
Okay, we
at
got
least
Butcher
on
and,
Facebook.
Thundar feeling each
And I
other out
asked
right
him.
now
I said,
to
"Hey
decide
Jerry,
what
whatever
they're
happened to
gonna do.
Troy? That's Bulldog Butcher, Troy Otto."
Haven't seen
Right.
much from,
And apparently,
scientific
from what
standpoint,
Jerry
and
told me, he
Butcher's
was in.
opposed.
This was a long
That
time
don't
ago,
work.
several
That
decades
doesn't
ago.
work
He was involved in a
at
bad
all.
automobile accident, and now he's got some mental, some kind of like mental damage, some in that. He's not
Yeah.
quite like he's not himself anymore now. He's in like a mental facility because of the brain damage that he's had gotten from this accident. that he had.
Right.
Kind of a sad
And make no
deal.
mistake about it, it is extremely hot out here.
How hot is it?
It's so hot. we can't
Jerry
do that.
Wellman,
No
by the
comment.
way,
Referee, Bulldog Butcher
the
trying to
Conan the
choke on
Barbarian, went
Conan.
on to went into the
Seems to escape
Marines
the Barbarians.
after the
They didn't even
NWF.
phase him.
Yep, that's
And-
partially why they, as I remember, that's partially why they dropped the tag titles
Okay,
in.
Conan rolling him over for
You know,
Yeah, because
Steenerson
Jerry was
Steenerson
gonna,
comes in to break it
yep,
up.
he was enlisting in the Marines, and he
Thundar
did.
climbs right over
And then he
his
went on to
body
become a police officer for many, many, many years, and now he's
Yep.
retired from that. Yep.
Okay, now this is going to be Steenerson and Conan. Conan's been in for a while, a big kick and a forearm.
Slickster.
And Steenerson
I remember
is
the
down
complaint
like a
with
fish
Troy
out of
back then. He
water.
had this glitter
He's
all
just
over
flapping
his
around in there.
sweatpants that he had
Now,
made.
Conan
He kind of
throws
made
another little
special
sets him
pants
up.
for the wrestling. They
There he
had
goes,
glitter
a
on
big
them.
clothesline,
He glued
Yeah.
the glitter
Steenerson
on.
is down.
And
Right
glitter
away
was
for the
getting
count.
all over the ring and everything. And everybody's like,
Going for the pin.
Troy, don't wear them again. You're
And
getting
free
glitter over
as
everything.
Steenerson is pinned. Ring the bell.
And after we go off air, I want to talk to you
Winners
about
are
something.
the World
Crusher.
Tag Team
Sure.
Champions, the Barbarians. And we'll be right back after this interview. No interview? No, and gentlemen, this will be
Chris Barger,
a
very
World
professional.
Championship match, a
for our
world title
announcer.
defense for Crusher Crossen. His opponent is the Ice Dragon.
You'll notice a guy.
And
Let's
here's the
see
music
if we
from
see him here.
Chicago, Illinois. He
Off to the
weighs
side
in
over there, behind where
at
Butcher Bulldog is.
146 pounds.
Yep.
you'll see a guy out there taking pictures right there. See the guy at the camera?
Vaguely.
Pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got his camera there and he's snapping pictures.
The Fly.
That is Tom Yell from ABC Newspapers. He was out doing a story on the show.
Oh,
from our
okay.
Anoka County paper there.
State championship is not
Yep.
They did a
during this
big,
bout.
huge, full-page story on us. It was
And
great.
now, the
And
music
so
you
Tom
all
was there
know
just
so
snapping pictures
well.
of us for the
The
article.
world's heavyweight champion from Venice Beach, California.
Okay, Crusher, I will let you
123
answer this
pounds.
question from Sports
He
Talk.
is Crusher Crossen.
Well,
The world heavyweight champion.
you know, the worst for me, I broke my finger
It is on line
in a
during
match.
this bout.
That
And
was in Brooklyn Park, if I remember right.
Okay, that's it.
yeah, I was at
Referee
Brooklyn
says
Park
ring
and I
the
did
bell,
a
now
power
the
slam
outside for the action.
to Steve. So Mr. X, I threw him against the ropes and I did a power slam. And as I did that power slam, my hand got caught underneath his back as I did the slam, and I stubbed my finger under his back, and it broke my finger. It was bad. It hurt like a son of a gun, but I had to keep going. I didn't stop. You know, the match kept going. That was, oh man, that hurt. It really hurt the next day too, because it hurts more after.
Yeah, because when you're in the ring, your adrenaline's going and you don't really realize.
Yeah.
For me, my worst injury was my worst
What's that?
injury was my first match.
Yeah, when you got
That body
slammed on the
slam
small
I-
of your back. Yeah.
Yep.
Damage may have been done to that shoulder.
Fred Mooring. I'm trying to think if there was anybody else that got hurt really bad, but not, I gotta say, not really. I mean, Terry Block with the ribs there.
Yep.
When Terry Block got power slammed by you
Following that up and crossing in the corner.
in October, that one, you know,
Throws him into the ropes.
cracked rib, bruised rib, whatever it was.
No reversal on the back body drop and smash. And
Otherwise,
we got
no, there
two
really
Kelsey
wasn't.
away.
Well, I did put my tooth through my lip on that one
And
show in the garage when
and that one
we
looks like
watched
may
it.
have hurt
I had the
champion.
Boston Crab and Roberts jumped in my back and I did a face plant on the
May
ring.
not have, taken advantage of that like he wanted to,
You know,
but
Boston Crab, your arms and legs are all occupied, so you have nothing to stop yourself. And Roberts just jumped on my back.
There was
And I
no
had nowhere to go.
He reaches down for that something extra only
I
champions
literally
have.
put a hole through my lip on that one. Like, I could put a string through
What are you
it.
trying to do to me? They'll be adding these little
That
comments
hurt.
on the side.
But
Crossing in
that
the
would be
turnbuckle,
the
sets
worst
him
of
up.
it, really, for
Oh,
me.
and I think he did
I
get
can't
the
think of
champion.
anybody, and I don't believe
He's
anybody
blinking a little
else.
bit.
Like, nobody ever had to go to the hospital from the show or anything like that.
Well, didn't you have one show where you got color and had to go get stitches?
Well, yeah, that was much later on. That was at the dry dock when I was 18 years old, and yeah, and I legitimately juiced. I cut myself like you do in professional wrestling, and it was a mess up on my part. And yeah, I had to go to the emergency room because it was a bad cut. And so here, it's kind of a funny story. I'm in the emergency room, and in fact, Chris's mom, Chris and Jay's mom, drove me there to the emergency room because they were in the crowd watching. And they knew I needed to go, so they drove me to the emergency room, and I had to wait 3 hours to get in there. And I have a big open wound, and I had to wait 3 hours. The guy next to me has been stabbed trying to catch a shoplifter. He had to wait too. We finally get in there, and the doctor said, "So here I am in my wrestling boots, my trunks, everything. I'm still in my gear, Dave." And the doctor says, "How'd this happen?" I said, "Well," I think I got my head hit in the turnbuckle, and there was a wire there, and it caught my forehead." It was the only thing I could think of. I wasn't going to tell him I took a razor blade.
Exactly.
So he's like, "Well, it looks like a pretty fine cut for that, but we'll get you taken care of." He knew. That doctor knew exactly what I did.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you dealt with wrestlers before.
What do we have?
Yeah.
We've got he's throwing the dragon into the ropes. Irish whip coming possibly.
Ironically enough, I got paid for that
Irish
cut.
whip into the ropes. No.
Because I think I told my insurance company I was changing my oil under the car, and that's how I cut my head. So they said to make sure you file it with your auto insurance, file it with my homeowner's insurance and house insurance. They both paid. So
Okay, no, and a kick
I got
out.
paid for that
Nice kick out by the Ice
for
Dragon.
that
Finally
cut. For it was
saved
like
this one.
under $100 back then. The emergency
Now a
rooms weren't
karate
that
chop to the
expensive.
midsection. And a head
Yeah.
into the turnbuckle by Crossen from the Ice Dragon, and then another one.
I liked working with
Now
Chris.
setting up,
I
he's gonna
think
take it from
I
pillar
think
to
his
post.
character, the Ice
And he
Dragon,
goes
was really
outside the
good.
ring.
Great heel, could definitely give you the
And
heat
the
that you
Fly
needed
getting
as a
little bit
baby
of
face.
Extra attention on
Yeah.
him. Now Kelsey
He had the
climbing up on
look
ring apron a bit there. He doesn't
of a
like what he
great
sees.
heel.
I don't like what I see either. He's wearing my pants.
I do have to say, Crusher,
Now the Fly grabbing his foot.
next
The referee's
time you
gotta
come
see
out
what's
here
going
when you
on
have
now.
more time, we should
Now
head
there
out and
goes
get some pizza.
Crossen back and
Yeah,
forth,
I
and
didn't get a
fist
chance to
another
get
one, and the
to get over
momentum
there
is
the last
carrying
time I was
again.
there even. And
Crusher
I
Crossen now setting him up. What's
I
this
always
gonna be? Is
like
this gonna be the-
seeing
Yes, it
Chris.
is. It's the 1, 2,
And his
3.
pizza's great.
The referee out of position
It is
again.
really good pizza.
No 3 count, I guess. Referee did not see it. The foot was on the
Yeah,
ropes.
Ice Dragon.
There was a 3 count by
Well, there's
either
Kelsey
referee
at
center, but
ringside.
The foot was on the ropes and no 3 count is given. Now a body slam on Crusher Crossen. Kind of weak, but it got the job done. Now the Ice Dragon sitting on the second rope and the telephone's ringing. And a flying forearm, I think that was. It caught Crossen right across the chest. And now
So now look at Chris. Ice Dragon leaves the ring, comes in with that
Crossen
folding
looking for him.
chair.
You can't see what's going on.
Now I told Chris I want to sell this, so just
Now,
pretend you're
wait a
gonna
minute,
spear
what's
me
going
with
on,
it.
Kelsey? Oh my gosh!
So like he hit me in the forehead, right? And then
Yep.
just to make sure it worked, I did it again.
The referee says ring the bell. It's out of control.
I wanted to really sell that chair shot.
Look at the Ice Dragon and the Fly go now. Look, and they're big and brave when it's 2-on-1. And I don't know how badly Crusher Crossen's injured, but thankfully the Barbarians were in there to bail
So
him out.
Ice Dragon
As
disqualified.
they've done repeatedly before in the past. And as I assume,
And as you see, the Barbarians
by
come in
result
for
of
the
this
save.
qualification, your winner and still heavyweight champion of
Well,
the
you know,
world,
you all were
Crusher
baby faces.
Crossen. We'll be right back after this interview. The biggest and the best. And we've got an interview right here outside the ring with Crusher Crossen. As you can see, his face split open by the chair used by Ice Dragon. What do you... I'm speechless, Crush. That did it. You know something? I had him down for the count. He blatantly lies to the ref, says his foot was on the rope. The ref believed him. And now, he took the chair in, wide open. For all I know, gotta go to the doctor and get stitches. It's done. He is finished. Next week, I'm gonna get him in the ring and he is gonna be finished. He's gonna be history, he's gonna be period, he's gonna
Of course,
be
that's not real blood,
Understand
Dave.
it?
You know that.
Yeah.
We didn't do
You
that
better
back
go get
then.
somebody to look
At
the
least at
inside.
that point in time.
That's the world's heavyweight
So no
champion,
juicing
Crusher
in these
Crossen, now
days.
coming in.
I did the
They
juicing
do
when I
all
was
that,
18 when I
dig to
could
the
legally
Crusher.
do it, but
The,
Mistake.
Ice Dragon and his partner,
made a
the
mistake
Fly.
when I did it, Dave.
And you must be pretty
Yep.
proud of yourself now.
I beat him, didn't I? No problem. It's not my fault that he was going to hit me with the chair. It's not my fault.
You brought the chair in, if I might remind you. And,
Such a good heel.
He had you for what appeared to be a 3 count on the side. How do you explain that?
It wasn't a 3 count. My foot was against the rope. The ref even said it was. Thank you.
Well, okay. The words of the Ice Dragon Fly, you repeatedly interfered in that match. It's a singles match for the title. How can you justify what you just did?
When did I interfere? I didn't know that I interfered.
We
The
know
ref should have told me something about it. Because I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, Flusher, but it doesn't help it. Okay.
Bye-bye, Flusher.
The words of a very arrogant, very
I'll
confident
tell you,
Ice
he
Dragon
was a
and
great
the
heel,
Fly.
Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Now we've got...
I just want to say
Mr.
that
Destroyer.
Invaders are not through with us. That was not a pin.
Mr. Destroyer making an
Invaders
appearance for a
may
little
not
say
be through
on the mic.
Yep.
Mr. Nice Guy.
One Dominic Dumas.
We'll be right back after these messages.
And normally we had
At the
commercials
NWF,
and
the best
interviews,
professional wrestling Minnesota has
so
to
it's just not
offer.
on this one.
And right now, from Yoho Municipal Arena in Anoka, Minnesota, we have a classic grudge match. It'll be Sergeant Smash against the Fly coming up in just a few moments. If I may, right now, I'd like to bring in somebody to get an interview while we're waiting for this match to get going. The Super D's coming in right now for an interview.
Super D's, Todd and Troy Dazowski.
The Super D's.
That would be Troy,
With your manager, Rough Ryan. There's been
and
a
that's
lot
Todd
happening in your
in the
careers
white
lately.
shorts.
what are your plans right now as far as the future? Who are you going to be battling, and what are your plans to get the championship back?
The Russians.
Very simple, two-word answer. On the part of the Super Ds, they're going after the Russians. Do you have any particular strategy?
Most popular team
I
we
mean, I know
had,
you're
Dave,
just
at the
gonna be
time, and
signing
as
up
far as
matches
the
with them,
Armory
but do you have any
goes.
particular strategy?
Well, as I remember, they were first ballot Hall of
We're
Famers.
just gonna try our hardest
They
to
were.
win.
For tag teams.
Okay, Rough Ryan, any words from you?
The only strategy is to go in there and kick their butts in.
The words of the Super Ds.
No,
are
I
going
really
after the
pushed the
Rough
Super
Russians and the
Ds,
World Lightweight
especially
titles.
after the May
Anyway,
9th
now,
card.
you
When
can
I
be
heard
watching for
how
that
the
one.
big pop they got when
I
they
wanna
came out,
remind you all that the
Oh,
next
yeah.
card, the
Yeah.
Armory card will be
so I
on
really
July
like to push
26th,
those guys to
Saturday
make
evening.
kind of headline them and give them
now
as
we're
much as
about
I
ready
could
to start the next match.
for exposure and everything.
Introducing first.
You know,
from Duluth,
they're twins, they're
Minnesota,
identical. Of course, the
weighing
crowd's
in
gonna love
at,
them, right?
Exactly.
That time in wrestling.
What? Well, why don't we ask Sergeant Smash exactly what he thinks he weighs?
I weigh 118 pounds.
If you believe that, ladies and gentlemen, I have some beach property in Kansas that I just love to sell you. Anyway, here's a...
I'd like to buy some.
I bet you...
Smash kind of going
And,
down a
ladies
very
and
awkward
gentlemen,
path here. Almost
his
wanting to
opponent,
become a heel of sorts.
Yeah.
Terre Haute, Indiana, weighing in at 120
You know, sometimes people were still not,
pounds.
you know, they were just kind of playing with their character a little bit as far as what they wanted to do.
Accompanied by his tag team partner and his partner in destruction, the Ice Dragon. We're gonna go down for some all-star commentary, and now to the ring for all-star action.
Let's see, Gizmo has a comment. The wrestlers' interviews have gotten much better as the years went by. Who was your best announcers? Oh, that's a good question.
Says ring the bell, and the bell's been rung.
Well, if you look at our Hall of Fame, when we had the Hall of Fame going for the 3 years that we did it, with people that voted, for when we introduced the announcing category, the first ever announcer to get inducted was Jason Clausen.
Right.
By a landslide, if I remember. Like the votes were, like it wasn't even close.
And now he's gonna let the smash go. Oh, and a fist
Um,
the Barbarians, as I said.
And that's when we introduced the announcing category. The next announcer that got inducted into the Hall of Fame the next year, which was the last year we had the Hall of Fame to date, was Rob Jacob, aka Ray Johnson.
Yeah.
Back from the beginning of the show, the early days, the Group W stuff.
Those
Those two, I gotta say, and you know what? If you think about it, those two really were probably the best announcers we had, Rob Jacob and Jason Clausen, for different reasons. Rob, totally professional, much more mature for his age than he was, and really put the guys over when he was announcing. Like, he would really put you over. And was just vested in the show. Jason Clausen had that chemistry with you know, just the whole thing, and he just, you know, his announcing, his commentating, really good. But then there's other guys like Rich Taylor, you know, in Group W Cable, he was great. His color commentating, really good. Chris Barker, the guy announcing right now, very good. I mean, very good.
Ken Boyer.
Ken Boyer, I was gonna say, you know, he was more in '87 and in some of the Armory events, latter parts, but he was great, and he put everybody over. I loved Ken Boyer. Yeah, and then of course there's Brian Balaban, who was really good for the short time he was involved, and we were fortunate to have good guys that were pretty good at it, doing our announcing.
Yeah.
You know, we had some good guys. Jeff Dinsmore, how could I forget him? You don't get much more professional than him. What's that?
Speaking of Jeff, once you get a hold of him, let me know.
Now wait a minute, he's going after the other turnbuckles. The referee has got to do something about this. Order has to be made.
Sorry,
Those
fans,
in the know.
It's an ongoing joke.
Those in the know what happens to those double D boots.
Oh my God, yeah. Ice Dragon's taking the
But yeah, we had good
This is
announcers.
Western George the Animal Steel. All we got to do is see the ice dragon start eating them.
Some guys, I'm trying to think, did anybody just announce for us and not wrestle? Like Chris wrestled and announced. Jason wrestled at first, but then announced all the time.
Right.
Rob Jacob wrestled and announced. Brian Bellabon. Rich Taylor was the only one that was strictly an announcer that I remember. And Ken Boyer. Well, no, Ken Boyer wrestled too as the Unknown Studs.
And now, the ice dragon.
Yep.
And awarded the victory. Why? Wait a minute. Let me get the official decision from the referee. As the action continues in the ring.
The ice dragon and the fly have taken the turnbuckles off.
So they're disqualified.
That's
Is that
automatic disqualification. The Brandons came out on their own. I'm glad.
Mr. Macho, ref in here, Mike Whaley.
Sergeant Smash, your winner by disqualification over the fly due to interference on the part of the ice dragon for removing the turnbuckles.
You seen the ref over there? He was undoing them. Smash must have paid him to do something. He was over there in the corner. He did something.
Fly, we're done. We're done for the day. So we'll be
Fly, we're done.
From the American Heart Association.
If I can wrestle.
This is a special handicap match.
Yeah, so here's that handicap match with the Super D's and Invader 1.
Play rack and roll. You say
Terry Block.
No, it's my. You played for the Swedish last time. Play for this time and play him.
You can hear some of the chitter chatter off the camera right now.
Yep.
At a combined weight of 140 pounds, the Super D's. With third man, Rough Ryan.
It was always hard to get the Super D's to show up, Dave, because they were in tennis, they were in soccer, they were in all these other sports.
Invader number 1.
So we didn't always get to see the Super D's in the summertime as much as we'd like, but we got them on the show.
This is a handicapped match. Some of you people are probably wondering why a handicap match. Well, it's something to do.
Yeah, because you really think about it, Terry wasn't that much bigger than the Super D.
He wasn't.
I understand Invader
And,
won for this match.
But yeah, and there, Jerry just said, and the Invader asked for this match. He wanted to have a handicap match with them. And I'm always willing to accommodate if somebody requests it, and he did.
Super D into the ropes. Comes back, clothesline by Invader 1. And it's back body drop. Super D hits the canvas.
Who's commentating right now?
Slips him into a pin.
And Jerry Wellman and Conan the Barbarian. That's Jerry.
Huh.
You didn't recognize him?
No, I mean, I haven't heard Jerry's voice in forever.
Invader 1 into the ropes. Super D got off with a somewhat of a flying drop kick.
More of a super kick there by the Super D.
Head into the turnbuckles.
Now this would be Super D number 2.
A flying drop kick.
Which is
You
Todd
just threw those feet in the air.
Yeah.
Only a 2 count. And Super D goes for the body slam.
A little bit heavy for... Yeah, the Super D's are a little outweighed in this match, there's no doubt for that.
Down. Invader 1 is in trouble. Invader 1, he goes for the slam.
That could have been a match that really got some pop, is the Invaders versus
He gets him
the Super D's.
And down.
Yeah. Yeah, if we would have probably if we could have ventured down that road in '87, that might have been the new Invaders. It might have been Terry Kosnapple Invader and Terry Block, you know, because Chad was out of the picture in '87 after a while.
Or it could have been Jamie.
Or it could have been Jamie, yes.
Super D2 comes in.
Because as I remember, was it Block and Kosnapple that didn't get along very well?
Kick to the head.
Or no, it
they
was
got
Block
along.
and Jamie that didn't get along.
It was Jamie. Jamie, Terry apparently, according to Jamie, Terry wasn't they just didn't really hang out.
What's the
They
number?
didn't
Terry
really-
kind of snubbed him
Looks like.
a little bit in school.
Whoa, what a drop kick. It was a form of a drop kick.
You're all teenagers, right? Who knows what was
Yep.
going on?
Tag off. And goes double team effort. What's it gonna be? It's a drop kick. No, it looks like the Super D. No, he's got the ropes.
You're staying alive in this thing.
So what's gonna happen
Yeah.
now? A suplex.
Suplex.
brings him
Yeah, the
over.
Super D's taking a lot of bumps in this one.
Pile
Is
driver.
it gonna be a pile driver?
Oh, that'll give you a headache. Cover. Oh, only a 1 count.
That's one thing about Terry. He was real smooth in the ring.
And
Oh, yeah.
one is
Always
tearing
making
out
sure to
fast.
protect.
I only worked one match
Super
with
D's
Terry,
have the advantage here.
and that was at the pole barn when he was in the mask as Block. I got a match with him.
Yeah.
Backs him
But
up. Goes for the slam.
yeah, Terry was super easy, and from what I remember, that
Good
match
enough,
was
but he still got him
a
through
night
the-
off.
And here goes another double team effort. In the ropes. Oh, look at this.
They're gonna do a double back body drop. Terry reversed
Oh,
it.
what's this? Is this gonna be a double pin? It is. It's a double pin. I don't believe it. He did beat him.
Quick thinking.
He didn't beat up on him.
What's that?
Invader
You beat him.
won, winning the
Yep.
handicap match.
Yeah, Terry deserved it. Like I said,
Yep.
Terry, he earned his position with the company at
good
this
night.
point in time. He really did.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up for another exciting NWF card. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope you'll tune in next week as the NWF presents its first Tag Team Spectacular. And I think you'll be surprised at the results that came out of that one.
Yeah, so Chris was saying that next week we're going to do the tag team tournament. We actually, for the next two shows, 77 and 78, we did a first ever tag team tournament. We had 8 tag teams. Was it 8? Let's see. Yeah, we had 8 tag teams all go against each other to see who would become the tag team tournament champions. And that was the team that would get the shot against the Barbarians at the October 8 Armory card. So you can guess who won that tag team tournament.
Could it have been the Rock and Roll Express?
It could have been. It was all in the plan because we knew that they were going to have the match, and this is where we're going to build it up. And we really thought things out at this point, Dave. Like we weren't just winging it with these the matches and the shows. It was all angled towards, really the Armory cards. Like, how do we build up these Armory cards and promote it with the shows? So,
I can answer this question from Gizmo. This show, we had the camera set up. Well, I say we, but the camera was set up on the roof of Crusher's house.
Yep, of the house. There was a chimney there, a brick chimney, and so we were able to prop like a platform so it was nice and flat, and we had the camera with that bird's eye shot. It was really the best angle you could get.
Yeah.
Such a good angle.
Because we've done other shows from Yoho, and you constantly had people walking through the shot, and
Yep. And if you had a straight shot, like we did shows with the ring in my backyard where you're just looking straight at it at eye level.
Yeah.
And it's just not as good a view. The views from the top looking down are much better for that. And which is why our last Armory card in August was great, because we had the mobile van unit there and they backed it into the Armory, into that garage area. And they put a camera up. It's the mobile van set up where you can have a camera on top of the van. So they got that bird's eye view there too, which is good for one of their cameras anyway at that show. So that was a great show, Dave. I just love the outdoor tapings. There's something about those outdoor shows that was just fun. My memories of it, the vibe, the atmosphere, the camaraderie of all the guys. It was just great memories from them them outdoor tapings.
Oh yeah. I mean, '86 was a good point in time for the NWF. We were riding high because we had the armory shows going strong. You know, we were all on the same page of what we wanted.
Absolutely.
And we were all backing each other up.
Yep, it was really a tight-knit group at that point, guys. I can tell you that. Locker room type atmosphere. Everybody had everybody's back for sure. And
I mean, here I was.
Yeah,
I was just coming back from Florida when we had that meeting in September, right before the October show. And when I threw out there me being thrown into the match with the Invaders, it was just like, oh, okay, sure, throw Dave in there.
yeah.
I don't remember any, oh, why is he getting it?
No, it was that was a good guy. There were good guys back then.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, half the guys, see, I'm almost surprised I didn't know about the NWF sooner than when I did. Because away from the ring, I had been friends with Terry Block. I had been friends with Chad Randall. I was friends with Tim Holland. I was friends with Jerry. I was friends with Troy Otto. You know, and it was finally Terry that told me about the NWF.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's I'm thinking like, you know, we talk about Terry Kosnapel, the other Invader, Invader 4. You know, I really want to get him on the show because we have a show kind of saved. Well, I had a show saved for him, but actually I want him to come on when we do the August card. Because he was, you know, featured in that show. And Terry Kosnapel was a guy that really got shortchanged in the NWF because he didn't get the TV exposure that all of us got for the most part.
Right.
Because we weren't doing the weekly show when he came in because, well, and the shows that we did do, all the interviews and stuff, I don't have those anymore because we weren't actually wrestling. He just didn't get all that exposure that way to build his character.
Right.
And so I really think, and I know Jamie believes this too, McParlin, we had a lot of potential with Kosnapel. He was a natural in the ring, and he just, you could put him in with anyone, and he could work a match pretty good. And you know, Terry, and you know, so Terry Kosnapel was friends with Terry Block. That's how he got in, and I'm sure Terry Block taught him everything he knew.
Yep.
Plus, I had worked with Terry Kosnapel personally for about a month before the October card because we couldn't set the ring up, so I had to go over to that apartment complex he lived at. And we used the outside courtyard, and we literally, that's where I really got him up to speed. And I don't know, I really wish he would have been able to, I don't know, get more exposure for his character because that would have been good. You know, good for him.
Okay, we have a question from Sports Talk once again.
Oh yeah, we did. So the first two Armory cards were single camera shots.
Right.
Then what I did then, I think the first time I did it was the October 18th card. I went with 3 cameras. And what I did is I had a stationary shot, and I had 2 cameras going around the ring. And that's where I used Greg Bushman and Scott Dotzler. They were my crew. And they would get cameras and they would go around the ring. And that was all individually filmed. And then I had to take all that footage and then do what they call a hard edit, where you edit it together to make it look like a multi-shot.
Right.
Everything has to be queued up. It's a long process. And then from that card on, every big show we did multiple cameras. Brooklyn Park, the dual card with Eddie Sharkey.
Yep.
You know, the other Armory cards. Eventually got the mobile van, and we did all the multi-shots with the mobile van and all the dry dock stuff and all that. That was all, you know, wasn't a hard edit anymore. But yeah, we did do multi-cam shots like that. But it was a lot of work, Dave. It took a week to edit the show that way.
Right.
You know, this isn't digital, right? This is analog, so it takes a while to put that together. But yeah, those are fun fun times to do the we never did. The only time at an actual TV taping where we did more than one camera would have been in 1989 when Troy and I were looking at bringing back the NWF, this pole barn.
Yeah.
They had a new thing. It was like a Porta-Pack dual camera setup you could rent. It was like having a switcher, a remote switcher with two cameras, and you could do like a mini studio outside the studio. And I used that for that taping, for that pilot that we did.
Yeah.
So we had a 2-camera setup for that. Yeah. It's
But
kind of
normally on a weekly basis, we only use one camera.
Generally, yeah. And sometimes those cameras acted up. So we have a few shows we haven't watched yet where we got technical difficulties because the camera's glitching out or the audio's glitching out.
Or the white balance is off, or...
Yeah, or they forget to white balance the damn thing. Gosh, that happened. That happened at some armory cars and some of those remote cameras. I remember the Brooklyn Park, one of those 3 cameras weren't white balanced. Not good.
Nope.
And it's really hard to fix that. Even now, it's hard to fix that. But it's impossible to fix that when you got a camera that's out of whack like that with the white balance.
Right.
But yeah, so
any other questions from our crowd?
it looks like we got one here from Gizmo. Seems like you learned many things while starting up and running your company. Did these skills help you later in life? Absolutely, they helped. Not just saying that. I started some businesses I did a flooring store and I did my architectural design business. And I didn't know how to run a business, but all that leadership from the show and running the show, the business skills took me into regular life, for sure.
Yeah.
And all the guys have said the same thing that we've talked with, Dave. Most of them.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to just be running it like I was. Even just being involved in it, you were influenced by it, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, for sure. I mean, and then just the editing with analog and learning how to do all that. When I produced the NWF, The Untold Story, the documentary,
Yep.
and I edited that together. It won 14 national and international awards. And I had not even gotten my degree in video production yet when I did that. That was just strictly from my knowledge of what I learned in public access when I put that documentary together.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's like with me, one thing I used is the show that the NWF did that I wasn't on when the NWA was in town. After the show was over, I was hanging out in you remember the old Met Center? You remember the ramp where everybody would drive out of?
Yeah.
And I can remember being in that ramp, and here comes Nature Boy Ric Flair coming walking out.
Yeah.
And I was the only person that was gutsy enough to approach him at the time and ask for an autograph. And, Nature Boy in character, why should I sign an autograph for a punk kid like you? And because of my knowledge in the business, I threw at him, I said, it's guys like me that pay your salary. And he goes, no, it's Jim Crockett that pays my salary. And I said, yeah, but if Crockett didn't have the money from us fans in the seats, you wouldn't get a paycheck. I got the Ric Flair autograph.
Yeah.
I don't have it anymore, but, through all the moving that I've done over the years, it got lost, as things do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's like the wrestling show really, I don't know, just able to accomplish all that at such an early age for all of us.
Yeah.
It's a lasting impression. It really kind of, you don't forget those things. And here's the thing about I'm going to say this, Dave. Those armory shows, believe me when I tell you this. Nobody told me, okay, if you're going to do a show at the Armory, this is what you got to do. You got to do this, 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 and this. Nobody told me any of that. My parents didn't know how to do an Armory. Nobody knew how to do any of that. I just took what I knew from how wrestling was promoted and just applied it.
Yep.
I knew we had to get the word out. I knew we had to sell tickets. So that was what I concentrated on. Posters, putting them everywhere, getting the word out on the show, selling advance tickets. That's what I concentrated on for that first Armory. And
Yep.
nobody told me this is what you do. And then I got sponsors for the program guide because, again, nobody told me how to do that either. But I knew when I went to the AWA and stuff, they always had advertisers in their program guides and stuff. So I figured, okay, I'll do the same. Only we couldn't call it advertising; we had to call it sponsoring because we were nonprofit. I legitimately registered the NWF as a nonprofit organization. You know, with the bank, so we have a bank account and everything. So, yeah, so we had to say that we were, that's why nobody. I think somebody last week, Dave, asked, did you guys make any money at the videos, or did you make any money merchandising? We didn't, because first of all, public access didn't allow you to make money on the videos, and we couldn't advertise that way on the show or anything, so there was no way to do that. You couldn't run commercials. So the only money we raised was from the Armory, really.
Exactly.
And that money just went right back into the league to do more Armories and more shows. Yeah.
I mean, even our merch that we sell now.
Yeah.
It's not a money-making scheme that we're doing.
No.
It's just if the fans want our merch.
I'm lucky if I make a quarter on these shirts, Dave. I'm not joking. I have them at cost for a reason. I just don't want them to be super expensive. So.
No, wait a minute, Crusher. I'm in on this deal too. So where's my part?
Yeah. Yeah. And in today's day and age, a quarter sure don't go far, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I wish we had, what I wish we had back then is I wish we had the technology we have today. I would have died to have HD quality videos.
Oh.
And merchandise that was easily printable and all that. We didn't have the means or the ends or the means back then to do that kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean, nowadays, and okay, people think that we sell tons of merch. I mean, what have we sold, Crusher? I think I bought 5 shirts total.
Yeah, we just have a few sales here and there. When I wrote my book and I put out the DVDs for the Anoka Armory series material that we did, initially there was a lot of sales mainly off the internet, off our website at the time.
Right.
I think there was a curiosity. They wanted to see exactly what it was we did, because at that time nobody seen that unless they watched it live.
Exactly.
And so that initially had a push, and then FYE Entertainment, for your entertainment, they bought them for their stores. But I don't know. I spent more money making the DVDs than I even made any money on those. That was kind of a wash. The book is the only thing I actually did well with. It actually made money for me, the book.
Speaking of which, Crusher, I'll have to get you my new address so I can get my copy.
I know. You know what I was thinking? When we were with Carol Castle with the Hall of Fame in Minnesota, I should have gave you one that just grabbed a book out of her box. I should have gave it to you then.
Well,
So
now
see.
I can just...
It says Gizmo's got a question. The show you missed, it was discussed how all the boys looked up to you. Oh, he's talking about the show. I wasn't there.
Right.
Do you ever look back on it and realize how many people's lives you may have helped? It's funny you mention that, Gizmo, because it really hit me when I watched that show with you and Jamie. The reality really hit me there that, my gosh, I can't believe how much I affected Jamie. And then that's just Jamie. I imagine there's others, you know.
Well, and I
And I
mean,
guess I never thought of it that as much.
well, I mean, for a lot of us kids, Crusher, you made a lot of kids' dreams come true. You think of
Right.
all the kids that came through that wanted to be a pro wrestler, you gave them an avenue to do it.
Well, I did, but I also gave myself an avenue, right? I mean, I was doing it for me too. I wanted to be. I was like you guys. I wanted to be like that too. But you're right. I mean, it takes somebody to run it.
You opened the door. You kept the ship afloat for 4 years.
Yeah. Yep. And but yeah, seeing how Jamie was influenced, and I heard a little bit of that from some of the other guys too. I know Troy Dazowski echoed some of that, and when we had him on as a guest, and Ron, every guest we've had has said that to some degree, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a friend of mine and I discussed one day. You know, when we were kids, we used to talk about how he wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And he commented to me a couple of years ago and said, "You know, Dave," he goes, "I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I never made my dream come true, but you got yours to come true."
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, well, it was on a limited scale, not the scale that I had dreamed of, but, you know, yeah. And that's one thing I'll be thankful of, you know, is you helped a lot of guys get their foot in the door. You helped a lot of guys get their foot into professional sports. I mean, look at Todd and Troy Dazowski.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
if I remember
soccer
saying correctly, they've had jerseys retired.
Yeah. They did.
You
And,
know, on one of the teams that they were on, aren't they in that team's like Hall of Fame or Ring of Honor or whatever it was
Ring
called?
of Honor, yeah. Milwaukee Wave, yep. They are. They were damn good soccer players. But yeah, I mean, I know John Hoffman, who went on to promote professional boxing and became a professional boxer himself. He said that he had taken a lot of the traits he learned from the NWF to do that. He had mentioned that in the interviews for the Untold Stories. So I know, you know, certainly I've heard it. I guess I don't know. I didn't. It really hit me when I watched Jamie say those things and yourself. It's like, man, you know, you sometimes you don't realize just how much you touch somebody's life. I know that there were guys like Chris Hansen, for example, Sergeant Smash. He didn't have a whole lot of friends, and so he joined the league just to make friends.
You know, the camaraderie of it. I mean,
and he talks about that to this day.
You know, the camaraderie back in the day was amazing. I mean, I would love to have it where, you know, all the guys in the NWF who want to be a part of it, we all get together.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's not Dell's Pizza anymore. We can figure out what it is and nowadays and see if they still got the basement and rent it out and just all hang out there and, you know, or maybe one Saturday morning we all get together for breakfast and just go sit at Han's Bakery.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
You know,
just to kind of get together again and reunite. And here, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Luxury Lane tuning in. Luxury, it's always good to hear from you. Listen, my friend, you got to get a hold of me. I'm having a hard time reaching you, so make sure you don't forget about Crusher. Lane's such a busy guy. But that's one half of the founders of the NWF right there, Charlie Luxury Lane. Join us on Facebook. And Charlie would tell you, Luxury will tell you everything I've been repeating here. He's going to, you know, Charlie's said many times to me that all of his successful business endeavors, he can trace those back to the league. You know, getting things done at an early age. definitely something to, that we all can relate with. So I'm trying to think. What did I say? Oh, I want to forget. So next show in 2 weeks, I'm going to shoot for the July 26th Armory card. It was the NWF Summer Sizzler. Kind of sizzled up crowd-wise, but man, was it a great night of matches. That was the one where Tronson pulled us off the air. We didn't get our word out on the show, and didn't quite have, we had maybe 50 fans there, maybe around 50. Which a lot of promoters will say 50 is not a bad crowd. But we were expecting hundreds, Dave.
Yep. Well, I mean,
so
wrestling fans may recognize the name that I'm about to mention, but former TNA Impact wrestler ODB, former Knockouts champion in TNA, runs a business, and I ran into her locally here a couple weeks ago. And I was telling her about the NWF and what we used to do, and she'd asked what kind of numbers we'd pull at live shows, and I told her, well, we'd sell out sometimes 400, 450 people, and her job out dropped from it being an independent show and hearing those kind of numbers.
It's not, even it was the 80s, so we had that going for us, a little bit more popular wrestling was, but still, I just think back to Eddie's shows at the same time. When Eddie was doing Pro Wrestling America during that time, and I'd go to the shows when we weren't doing a match or something, I'd show up at his cards, 20, 30 people maybe in some of these bar shows.
Yep.
Very small crowds.
I remember when you and Slick used to wrestle at the at George's, 100 people in the crowd maybe.
Yeah, 100, 150. George's just didn't fit that many people. Was kind of had the same problem the Dry Dock had, just a small venue. But yeah.
But it was fun. I got to meet the late great Sheik Adnan Al Casey there at one of the shows. That might have been after you left wrestling. Got to meet Baron Von Raschke at those shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, Dave, we covered it tonight. Is there any other questions from anybody? Feel free to jump in here and get them in before we sign off. But
right as you say that.
I think that might be. Whoops, I didn't know he had it up. I think that's Luxury saying that he had hung out with Wayne the Train Bloom, was trained by Eddie, and wrestled for the AWAW. And he knew of the NWF. Yeah. So Wayne Bloom, and that makes sense that he would have heard of the NWF, because that's when I was really, when Eddie was training Wayne the Train Blooms, when I was showing up at Eddie's camp, during those years. And Luxury runs into all these guys. Luxury's a big guy, right? So he fits right into the mold now with these guys. So he's bumping elbows with all these big guys now. So that doesn't surprise me that he ran into Wayne the Train Bloom.
Yep.
The Destruction Crew.
Yep. The Destruction Crew in the NWA, they were Minnesota Wrecking Crew 2. And in the WWE, they were the Beverly Brothers.
Yeah, the Beverly Brothers. I remember that. But yeah, so I think this is about it today, folks. We're going to wrap it up, Dave and I. But I'm going to shoot, like I said, I'm going to shoot for that July 26th Armory card for our next show, and I'll reach out to Steve Engstrom, aka Mr. X.
So, Pretty Boy,
I'll see if we can't get him to jump in. What's that?
So, Pretty Boy, I know that you'll be watching. Get a hold of Crusher. We need you on the show in 2 weeks.
I wanted to do this show already, but Steve said he was a little tied up this month, and if we could wait till next month, so that's why I'm hoping he can jump in with this. Thank you, Gizmo, for tuning in. We really appreciate you coming every time and watching with us and sports talk out there as well. And I know there's a lot of people watching on YouTube, so not everybody comments. But don't be afraid to comment, you guys. You're always welcome to comment. You don't have to be the regulars. You can always jump in and say whenever.
We
We're happy to
acknowledge all
interact with
comments.
everybody.
We
Yeah.
try to acknowledge every comment.
Yeah. All right,
So,
Dave.
if we're going to wrap this up, I am Dixie Dave, along with
I'm Pressure Crossen.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one.
Have a good one, folks.